Budget in Focus. In this edition of the program, we're meeting with Minister of Regional Government, Local Government and Regional Development, and Minister Nigel Dharamlall has had a very, very huge, in fact, his responsibility. We're talking here about 10 municipalities, 70 NDCs, and the list goes on. Of the $383.1 billion budget, national budget for 2021, we would expect that this particular ministry would have a huge chunk. And it's really my pleasure to have the opportunity to speak with Minister Dharamlall. Welcome aboard, Chief. Good having you.
Thank you, Mark, and good morning to our viewers as well.
Okay. And let's get right into I just mentioned a little bit of what your responsibility lies in municipalities as well. So the 10 regions and the 10 municipalities and the extensive work you have. Well, let's talk about your allocation, starting with that, and explain to those that are joining us really what it entails, your job.
Yeah, you are correct that the Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development covers an expansive, well, practically the entire country, because the 10 regions come under the purview of the Minister of Local Government and Regional Development. So too the 70 NDCs, basically almost all the villages across coastal Guyana, some in the hinterland, and the 10 municipalities, including the city of Georgetown. So our work is very expansive, is very massive. The budget reflects that to the extent that I, as minister, am responsible for $58+ billion of the $383 billion.
Mm-hmm.
In the regions, for example, we also speak on behalf of regional education, regional health, agriculture, public works. So there is a great interplay between some of the sector ministries as well as the execution arm. We are basically the execution arm to some extent in the regions on behalf of other sectors. So we practically cover the entire country, and we expect that moving forward during the course of 2021, that the interventions that we pursue are going to bring enhancement to the lives of people within our different communities. Our budget reflect very carefully as well as very clearly how we intend to pursue 2021. 2020, as you're aware, we had an emergency budget, and in 2020 that was the launch pad for us moving forward. So this year you will see an intensification of community infrastructure. You will see an intensification on solid waste management, on quality of services in regional health, education, agriculture, public works. You will also see a lot more monitoring. I think that is one of the critical areas for us as the Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development. We pride ourselves in being the link between the government and the people and the people and the government. And so it is very important for us to be responsive to issues that affect people on a daily basis. So a lot of our work as well will go into these quote-unquote soft areas of providing feedback and intervention support to people.
Yeah. Minister, I know as part of your responsibility, it deals with the local democratic organs, a number of the agencies within the local government structure, and it has been reported that you did encounter a number of financial irregularities and poor management, which continues to be a bother for you. So before we get into the literal finances, how you're spending, this is something that you want to seek regulations in.
Very well. We have actually gotten the approval, and we have proceeded with the Auditor General's Office to launch investigative audits to the point of them being forensic of the 10 municipalities, including the city of Georgetown. The Georgetown forensic audit has begun, and we expect that to be completed in the near future, ensuring that it captures all of the issues that have to be captured in a forensic audit. I think we owe it too to the citizens of our country and to the residents of these different municipalities, the management of how their resources have been managed and how their resources have been invested in. Billions of dollars, for example, in the last few years. City Hall, for example, raked in about 12.7 billion. Did 12.7 billion got expended the way the residents of Georgetown would like it expended? I don't know. The forensic audit will prove that. Being a resident of Georgetown, I am not satisfied with the services that are provided by City Hall and the management of our city. Likewise, we have had reports in different other municipalities. We have had issues of quote-unquote theft of resources. We also have to have some monitoring or upgrade the monitoring that we have in the neighborhood democratic councils. There are 70 across the country, and residents also pay rates and taxes to these bodies, and we expect that they are going to provide services based on much higher efficiency levels than previously. Likewise, in the 10 RDCs as well, we have built in a system now in all the 10 regions where the technical officers as well as the political officers, that is the council, that they are going to be more responsive in their interface with people. But I think very critically, it is a requirement now that across the LDO sector, whether it is the Regional Democratic Council, the Neighborhood Democratic Council, or the municipal councils, that they must show us evidence that they have consulted with people and that their decision making is based on that consultation rather than it being top down. So residents can look forward to greater consultation, and I've made it unequivocally clear to all our officers that the residents must have buy-in in any project that has to be done, because the impact is what they desire. And so we would like to have them take ownership of whatever intervention we pursue.
Minister Dharamlall, I know from the time you took office and you've been at it for a while, the feedback from the people has always been something near and dear to you, something that you always want to hear from. And I know, given the expanse of your work and the different communities, municipalities, the NDCs, and that you're dealing with, it is kind of difficult at times to track what's happening in each and every one of them. But you really are working on the feedback, the mechanism you put in place. This time around, you've got a financial injection to really make it happen.
Yes, and we're very grateful that that has happened, to the extent that I think we would now be able, almost on a daily basis, be responsive to people. I think that decision making now will be enhanced. We've had many complaints. People have come to my office. People have messaged me on different platforms, including Facebook, WhatsApp, Twitter. They've kept in touch. Some have even met with us outside of our office in different outreaches that we have. Some have met with other ministers as well, and all of the information collated comes to us.
Yeah.
One of the things that we recognize, and that has been a sore issue, has been the way people were dealt with and their issues were dealt with. And I think that we stand to upgrade that, and residents can look forward to greater interaction with us. We had a system, and I make no apologies, where the former government refused to basically deal with people at the local level. And what we found in the last 5 years was that just before elections, that's when projects were done. For us, it has to be a process. It has to be ongoing. Development cannot just be an event that happens at election time. Development,
an ongoing process.
People are ambitious. People desire these things. And it is a commitment of His Excellency the President to ensure that community infrastructure is upgraded. You would notice across the country we have now moved to asphaltic concrete roads. Some people are now asking for us to put speed bumps on these roads. Some, they're saying they're not wide enough, but we are moving in stages. At the end of 5 years, this country is going to be transformed. Part of my responsibility also is to come up with regional transformation plans that will see investment or the platform laid for investment to be decentralized into the different regions. So we will begin that, the consultations on the regional economic transformation plans in earnest during the course of this year as well.
Which makes your job particularly challenging, because we're not only talking about the townships or the villages that are on the outskirts. We're talking about those that are deep in. Many of them that sometimes we seldom hear of. And these people too have issues. And these are some of the people that you're challenging right now, you're trying to target and get right now.
Yes, the hinterland especially, I mean, across the country, the RDC is the major investor in the hinterland as well, the budgets of the RDCs. The 10 regions, their budgets total almost $54 billion. So this is a lot of development that will go directly towards people. And it is our policy, and I think it is a great shift from what we inherited over the last 6 months. You have seen a different philosophy in the way we administer and the way we pursue the development of people. And that is why we are more focused on getting on the ground, ensuring that these interventions are the ones that people put as part of their priority, and the government provide the resources. It is important too that we ensure that there is value for money. So we have put some additional safeguards in place where the unpriced bills of quantities for every contract must now be placed in a public area within any given municipality or NDC area or somewhere in the region. In the Amerindian areas too, we have to publish them because we do a lot of the development work in the hinterland regions.
Right.
So we stretch far and wide, from Guns in the deep south, at the source of the Essequibo River, to Mbotero in the northwest, at the top of the country. So our expanse is massive, and we have a lot of work to do, and we are happy so far that we've gotten the support of our people from all walks of life. I think that too, what is important as well is our ministry has basically on the pursuits of the government, or on our manifesto, we have sought to make sure that everyone gets involved. So our decision making, the interventions that we pursue, those are all in every single village of our country. So we are not here because of just, as had happened in the past, where the support goes to political supporters. The government of Guyana, through the Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development, we are in all villages, in all regions. We also have a quite dynamic program where we support community development councils. So our intention is to have at least 1,000 in 5 years. Wow. We now have close to 200 already established. They all have their trust deeds in order, and many of them have begun pursuing investments within their different communities. That will intensify this year as well, because we believe that outside of the institutionalized structure, the RDC, the NDC, or the municipal councils, that there are interest groups within villages as well that would like to see things done, and I think it gives them a sense of ownership and belonging, that these are things that they pursue on behalf of their people. So we're happy to support the CDCs. I must indicate to you that when I took over the ministry in August of last year, the CDCs, there was a big department with 30-something staff, and there's no record of any of their work. I made mention of it previously, and we will continue to make sure that the mistakes that the last government made, that we do not make those mistakes. What I found too is that some groups have now started to come back up, but when you look at the spread of those groups, I think they were only in APNUAFC areas. But for us as government, we have to get into every village. Irrespective of who support us, it is about Guyana. And His Excellency the President, at his inaugural speech in Parliament, I think he's made it known that we are about building the country all together. And no one will be left behind, no one will be left out, and we are all part of this process.
Right. And I think that's fascinating, given you've got the established groups, but you've also got people who've got an interest but are kind of more or less shut out of the established groups because they might not be associated or one issue or the other. And it also makes the established groups work harder because there is somebody else that is looking at what's being done, and as well as having documentation displayed that all can see of the works that have been done, so you can follow that and monitor was it. So you've got another reporting mechanism there. The man in the street or the man in the community can see and give
Mark,
you a call.
that is the most fantastic mechanism
Yeah.
that could be in place.
Exactly.
When genuine people raise genuine issues out of genuine concerns. And we can't go wrong
Yeah.
because that is our foremost point of contact and reference, the people in the communities.
Correct. Now, I'm fascinated with this particular project, $1.1 billion. This is community enhancement. It goes towards the workers, it goes towards the LDCs as well, but it speaks to sanitation. Let's talk a little bit about this.
Well, you know, solid waste management is a massive problem in Guyana. We have Higgs Bosch, that is the sanitary landfill that we have up at Eccles. So a lot more resources will be geared towards expanding Cell 2, making it very soon we'll be in earnest again, putting refuse into Cell 2. Cell 1 has, that is the first one, that is basically closed or at the point of closure. So it took quite a number of years. So we hope that moving forward, Cell 2 is also going to be well managed. We have quite a young dynamic team that is managing the sanitation aspects of our ministry, or the solid waste management aspects. We have this issue across all 10 regions, so you will find us putting more resources into the different regions. In Region 3 and 5, they do not have, at this point in time, a solid waste disposal site or a landfill, and those two regions we will have to work as well to make sure that those two regions get proper waste disposal sites. The city of Georgetown, last year end we spent quite substantial amount of resources to clean up Georgetown. That will intensify across the country again this year. I think part of the vision of His Excellency is that we have to transform the country into one that we are proud of, and the Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development will be leading that effort. City Hall, it is now part of our budget. The President made that commitment that his government is going to rebuild City Hall or restore City Hall. So there are resources that now in this year's budget, and we will begin the restoration of City Hall during the course of this year. It has been left dilapidated and mismanaged for too long, and I think it is part of our history. It is going to be a legacy of ours to make sure that this prime building gets refurbished and restored.
Picturesque, one that many visitors would come to see from varying points. The restoration of City Hall will really be a great one for the entire country.
And we are going to be building other projects across the different regions. One of the things that we have also sought to do moving forward this year, we have to start using local resources based on what obtains in the different regions. So we've asked the engineers, the designers, to make sure that local resources are used. So in the North Pacaraima Mountains, projects in the North Pacaraima Mountains, they must start harnessing the resources from there, the materials from there. Likewise on the Quarantine, likewise in Region 10, likewise in the Rupununi. Because it serves as building the economy of these areas. And when these economies are built, then the domino effect, the symbiotic effect of job creation, of greater employment, of more wealth in the villages and in the regions, I think all of those go into the greater plan for what we have for Guyana.
Minister Dharamlall, still the enhancement program. I mean, when you look at the fact that Higgs Bosch, you're just about to close Cell 1 and Cell 2 is up and running, it really speaks to, okay, we talk about the volume of garbage and say, boy, it's a lot of solid waste, but it also reflects the development, the massive development, and the volume of people that are living in this side of the country, which speaks to the importance that has to be placed on the side of the country, and other parts as well. Hence, more funds need to be expended on these projects. It's a headache, but in a way, a good headache for the local government to regional development
It's
ministry.
a good headache, but I think that residents also have to take ownership of this issue. And I do not think that as a Guyanese collective that we've been able to take ownership of this issue.
So culturally we have a problem.
Right, and I would hope that during the course of the next few years that we are able to get this issue under control. Higgs Bosch at this point in time takes in about between 350 to 400 metric tons of garbage per day. So we have a lot of refuse that we produce in Guyana. And then when you add for the different regions, that number multiplies. So I would like to make the clarion call to all residents to ensure that they treat this issue of solid waste management importantly, and also businesses, because many areas that we go to, we find that businesses also are, they present part of the challenge as well. So it should be, as His Excellency had indicated publicly as well, that businesses should also start making sure that solid waste management is part of their cost center.
Right.
So that they can treat with it properly, rather than leaving it on the road or leaving it for someone to pick up and destroy elsewhere. So I hope that moving forward, every Guyanese is going to take solid waste management seriously. It also represents us as a people.
Yes, it does.
You know,
Yes, it does.
it is an image issue.
Yeah.
And I would like to see that everyone, you know, takes control of this matter. The community enhancement workers, we are going to have many employed in different LDOs, we call them LDOs, local democratic organs, in the towns, in the NDC areas, and in the wider region, because we have to have these employees who are going to engage in the enhancement of the communities. One of the dynamic things or different things that we will do this year is that, in addition to them being involved in you know, cleaning parapets and drains and those kinds of things, they will be now involved in building community projects.
Beautiful.
And I think that is going to be a signature moving forward.
We've got 5 minutes, Miss, and I don't want us to run out without talking about this. So this last chunk here deals with 172 million capacity building, but institutional strengthening and infrastructural works. The part I really love, though, while we talk about all that, I also want to focus a little bit, while we've got time, on the rehabilitating of 3 markets. This is Charity, Puerto Rico, and Mount Repo markets, and other places too will benefit from it. Let's talk about that.
Yes, Charity has been in a terrible state for a long time, and we intend to take the lead in fixing these issues or addressing these issues, as a matter of fact. So $30 million will go towards the charity market, and we are going to do massive rehabilitation. Some vendors have basically taken over the drainage, taken across the entire charity in the prime location. There are shacks and stalls on the road, on top of drains. So we have to regularize it. And we've so far gotten the support of the residents, but we have to create the enabling environment. So as soon as that is finished, we expect that charity is going to be in a much different, look much different, and it will be managed much differently. We will also be spending, I think, about $70 million at Monrepo. Monrepo is one of the massive markets that we have, and we have already begun work on drainage and on the lavatory facilities. So this year we are going to upgrade Monrepo as much as possible. Other markets have already been earmarked. Last year we begun some rehabilitation work on East Ramveld as well as the East La Peniton / Alboystown markets. But we've had some hiccups with the City Council, and I plan to go and reach with the vendors there. I think that part of our duty as residents, as consumers, as well as vendors, in the wider stakeholdership, that we would like to see all of these markets upgraded. And I think City Hall has been a stumbling block in making sure that these things happen. And I would hope that we get the support of the residents and the vendors in those areas, so that we can provide better facilities for them. I was recently on Valentine's Day in Region 5 at Rosignol. So we now have a plan on dealing with that issue in Rosignol where the market is concerned. We have done a lot of work already on Corriverton. So on other markets, we will consistently do some work.
Okay. At the end of the road, Minister, these projects have got a ripple effect benefiting the people of the areas, the communities, the vendors, and all those that are in close proximity to where these projects are being constructed, and to the people who are partly involved in these projects.
Yeah, well, there are a number of benefits, the impact. There is the national pride issue, there is the community pride issue, there is community ownership, and when there is community ownership, then local investment would go into these things. So when local investments go in, then the impact spreads across. There is greater employment, there are greater opportunities for growth in the different areas, and it all builds into our manifesto plans of creating 50,000 jobs, of ensuring that we address pro-poor conditions, that we address pro-business conditions, and I think that these are things that were alien in the last 5 years, and now we are seeing real development in our areas. So we look forward to the continued support of our residents across the different areas, and they can be rest assured that the government will work with them hand in hand to enliven and enhance their communities.
Yeah, and with the monies that have injected and allocated to your ministry, your final statement to all Guyana as it relates to what to expect coming out of your ministry.
Yeah, well, they're going to see greater support given. The infrastructure in all regions we have begun last year. It will be intensified this year. They can expect too that a lot of the small people, we recently passed the Small Business Amendment, so at least 20% of the $58+ billion that we have can go towards small contractors or small service providers within the different regions. So there is going to be more resources flowing, and the corresponding benefits are going to be enormous. It is a different philosophy that we are governing via, and we look forward that everyone is going to get some support or benefit from the interventions that we are pursuing.
Minister Nigel Dharamlall, it was my pleasure having you on Budget in Focus, and we wish you all the best as you continue on your sojourn. It's quite an extensive and expansive one, but we're going to talk again. Thank you so much for being a part of the program.
Very well, Mark, and I'm happy to also speak on behalf of the government on these issues and to our beneficiaries, the citizens of Guyana.
That's right. Minister of Local Government and Regional Development speaking with us, Nigel Dharamlall there, really highlighting and pinpointing where the monies will be spent, and of course many more projects on the road. So thank you again, Minister, for coming, and thank you for being a part of this program. This is Budget in Focus with Minister of Local Government and Regional Development. I'm Mark Watson. Until the next time, goodbye. Thank you.